We're kind of doing a do-it-yourself freelance trip this time. We're in eastern Montana. We checked into some block management land here this morning. And I don't know, we're just looking at maps, and basically we know we're gonna have to pay our tuition and pay our dues, but we just looked for some big chunks of public land or public access, and we're just walking back in as far as we can. And so we got out here in the dark, and we probably walked maybe a mile or so and saw the first 2 deer of the morning. But it'd be kind of fun just to explore this. We've never hunted this area, so I think a person just have to put in your time. But we got one small buck out in front of us. One, two, three, four. A big buck, a big buck. A big buck, Jason. 5 does, a big buck right there. That was a big deer, though. I thought that was a pretty good one. Did you think so? Yeah, it's hard to tell, but yeah, it looked like it. He's going to the left. The big buck is going to the left. You see him? Yep. He was way outside his ears.
You know, so the first day we get in, we have no idea where we're gonna go. So we just pick a big chunk of BLM land and we drive out there in the dark. We start walking out in the dark and we're kind of walking along one edge of it, you know, trying to play the wind, and figure we'd get back in a ways, and once it gets light out, we'll be able to see a little bit. And you know, we were just hoping to see some deer, and we start seeing deer, you know, right away, you know, and we start seeing quite a few deer. I mean, I was surprised. I think the first day we probably saw 20 deer. But there was one buck in particular that was just really a beautiful buck, you know, especially for public land or public access. It was just a beautiful deer.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the 2 bucks are walking towards each other, I can tell you right now. Oh, we're seeing some deer. Maybe that nice buck that we saw earlier is with this group here, and they're working their way across a field here. We're probably gonna have to just let them bed down. Hopefully we can see them before they see us, so we can figure out if we can make a move on. But I think we're just having to be patient here. This wind has switched back into our favor. When we first got here, we bumped them because they winded us. There's a group of about 9 of them all together. And now we got up on top of this next hill, and that wind has switched more into our favor. It's in our face now. They're moving off into the northwest, and so we're gonna slip this edge row here and just see what we come up with when we get to the corner. Yeah. It's a massive wheat field in front of us that they're going across. This ground, the first time I've hunted Montana, this ground is unbelievable. It's so vast. Yeah. And it's public. That's what's so cool about it. Anybody can come out and do this.
You know, I think the opportunity to go mule deer hunting is something that everybody, if they ever get a chance to do, they need to take advantage of. It's a vast, wide open country, and you know, compared to whitetail hunting, there's some difficulties. You have to get back in the tough country to where they live, and I know there's a lot of satisfaction about going 4, 5, 6 miles by foot to be able to find some of these mule deer, and the toughness that they have living in this country. You got to appreciate. It's vast, a lot of rolling hills, difficult to go, and I think the challenge that you have hunting mule deer is they have a lot of advantages on you. They live in the country that they know real well. You stand out like a sore thumb trying to walk 4 or 5 miles back to them, and I think the satisfaction of even getting close to one is a thrill.
Just be ready, because if they stand up, that buck might be around them, and stand up, and you might have a shot. Oh, one of them stood up. The doe stood up. This deer's got a bull Houdini on us. We saw him with these does, and the does squeaked out the side here, but we don't know if this big buck is still bedded up here or not. We're just gonna have to be patient and wait and see, but temperature's definitely dropping. That's the small one. I don't think the big buck was that far out there though. No, I don't think so either. But normally when a bunch of deer string off like that, they just take whatever's around with them. Yeah, you know, but who knows? I think he's in there somewhere.
Big mule deers, it's like they have a sixth sense. You know, I mean, they just sometimes you feel like you have them cornered and dialed in and nailed down, and they just it's amazing how they can just sneak out on you. And that deer gave us a slip.
Yeah, one of the myths about deer hunting or mule deer hunting is that you need private ground to do it, and we didn't have any private ground. Don't know any ranchers, farmers, or anything around this area, and we were amazed at the amount of money that Montana has put into public BLM and private ground and state ground, and it's just vast. It really is. There's just tons and tons of good opportunity to, and not just flat ground. It's not usable. There's a lot of stuff that has coulees and buttes and wheat fields next to it. That's all in that BLM and state ground, and it gives you a really great opportunity to find some good deer in the public ground.
You know, I think it's the fear of the unknown, you know, that keeps a lot of people away from a do-it-yourself type hunt, you know, especially, you know, on public land. But, you know, I guess you have to have the mentality where you're just going to go out there and pay your dues. And, you know, I guess to stress a couple of things, I think this is something anybody can do. I think a lot of people just get intimidated. You know, you don't know anybody, you don't know anything. Well, that's fine. You know, you just have to go in and be willing to put in some work, you know. And one of the things that we found is, you know, just especially the big chunks of BLM, just put your walking boots on and get back far enough, you know, get away from people. You know, I think if a person's willing to do that, you know, over the course of the week, you're going to find some pretty special locations. And I felt like some of the stuff we learned was pretty valuable. And I feel like some of the spots that we figured out, you know, they're pretty special spots, you know, and it just floors me just how much public opportunity there are. You know, we're here the first week of the season. We've seen some hunters, but not as many as I thought there'd be. There's way more public land than I ever envisioned. It's vast. I mean, you can pick some chunks and just spend the whole day walking and glassing. And, you know, if you love exercise and love just getting out and exploring some beautiful country, this is paradise out here. It really is. You know, we found an area with some deer, and we found a big deer. And so, you know, the biggest thing is, you know, we didn't get a shot, but we also didn't screw it up. And so the next day, a big storm blows in, you know, and we spent a little bit of time hunting. We spent a little bit of time driving around, checking out some of the other areas on our Onyx map that, you know, where we could tell where there was public land. And the visibility was terrible. I mean, you couldn't see hardly anything, you know, and so it was just kind of a wasted day.
Well, it's day 2 of the Montana freestyle mule deer hunt. Yesterday was a real promising day. It was a lot different than today as far as weather goes. We've seen probably 18 to 20 mule deer yesterday in different areas. 7 of them were bucks, 2 respectable ones. And they said weather was moving in, and boy, they were right. This morning it started to blow sleet and snow, about 20-mile-an-hour winds. So we do what every good deer hunter does. We went to the bowling alley and had coffee. This afternoon we reshuffled and we said, let's get out in that same area and see what happens. And you can see we've got about 6 inches of snow. We walked out to one of the draws by public land that we hunted yesterday. And what we're trying to do here basically is watch and see what comes out of these draws and goes to feed. Jason's about 3/4 of a mile, maybe a mile north of me. And we're sitting back here right now just glassing these draws and see what comes out of it. So stay tuned.
You know, we have a lot to learn about mule deer hunting. You know, I mean, we've done some mule deer hunts. I've shot, you know, a fair number of mule deer, but I know there's people that are way more skilled at it and way more experienced at it than I am. But it seems like one of the things that, you know, we've learned is that, you know, you might have to be aggressive. You might have to cover a lot of ground and just look a lot of areas over just to find deer, because there's certain areas where they're just void of deer. But once you find deer, you know, really slow down and get methodical. You know, spend a lot of time glassing. You know, don't be too impatient where you just go through areas quick and bump deer around and move deer around. You know, just pick your way across these spots, you know, and really slow down and just sit and glass. You know, there's times where, you know, we'd get in an area where we knew there were deer, you know, we'd sit for half an hour, 45 minutes and just glass. And then we'd maybe move 400 yards, 300 yards to get on a different vantage point. We'd sit for another half an hour, 45 minutes and just glass. And it seemed like once we slowed down in good areas, that is the key, because the whole key to killing mule deer, in my opinion, you have to see them before they see you. If you see them and, you know, you wait for these deer to bed down, wait for these deer to make a move where, you know, you can get in range, that's when you have somewhat of an advantage. If the deer see you first, I feel like you have no chance of coming in on that deer. You know, they just know every way out of that country. And so slow down and enjoy the experience, slow down and enjoy this beautiful country, and just, you know, sometimes you just have to let things happen.
It quit snowing. It's a beautiful morning here. We've been probably walking maybe a mile and a half. So we'll be back in here. We're just gonna kind of get on a high spot here where we can glass. We thought the deer would be moving around a lot today, but we haven't. We bumped a couple of does walking in here. Other than that, it's been pretty quiet. A lot nicer walking than yesterday.
And so day number 3, you know, we get out there in the dark, we get set up, you know, we're on a high vantage spot where we can see, and we're seeing deer. Then all of a sudden Tim nudges me, it's the right deer, you know, it's the, you know, we don't know for sure which deer it is, but it's a big buck, you know, way up on this draw, way out there.
Buck in that draw. Pretty respectable. I was just glassing there. He just stood up.
I think we might have glassed for 20 minutes before I just seen this nice deer that was sitting down maybe 1,000 yards away. Had a doe with him, and just seen some antlers move. I mean, he was in the brush and everything else, and that brush just moved a little differently, and I kind of zeroed in on him for a little while, and I said, hey, there's a big buck down there. And then the challenge became, how do we get to him? We're up on a hill looking down on him. He's got the whole country above him, so he can see everything. He's in some thick cover, but it was a really long, tenuous sneak.
you know, we closed the distance. We went through a few ravines and, you know, got on them again, and rangefinder said like it was bouncing around like right around 750 yards. So, you know, as we kept getting closer though, we realized that, yeah, that's the same big deer that we saw the first day. You know, it's the exact same deer. And amazingly, where that deer ended up bedding is probably within 200 yards of where we first saw that deer the very first morning, you know. And so that's something too, is sometimes these big deer, if they feel safe, you know, they're kind of homebodies. If you don't mess it up, a lot of times, you know, you'll find those big deer right back where you first saw them, you know. And so just kind of a game of cat and mouse at that point, just using the terrain and using the ravines to try to, you know, close the distance.
Doe's looking that way. He's looking this way. But she's right in front of him. There. If I go this way, they're going to see me. We got to get to the mound. He's laying right there.
I think that last, I don't know, 400 yards closing on him was something that my knees and my elbows will remember for the rest of my life for sure. But we had to crawl, literally hands and knees, for about 250, 300 yards and stop and take a peek, because you lose track of where he's sitting, you know, and then all of a sudden there you see him, you get back down, you find another little bump or hill or weed patch to get behind. And you know, we closed the distance to around 250 yards, and that's when we looked at each other and said, I don't think there's any more left. We're gonna have to take him at this distance.
He's standing up, facing away. Standing up. Yeah, but I don't think he's leaving. Wait till he turns sideways. Ready?
I heard it hit him.
Yeah, you got him. You got him.
I heard it hit him.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
Oh, I came up.
Well, that'll warm us up.
Oh. You know, that's the other thing, is to find a buck like that all by itself with one doe. That's a lot easier situation than a buck like that with 20 does, you know. And so sometimes when you're hunting, a lot of things have to go right. You know, there's some luck involved, you know, climbing up some of those draws and crawling up some of those low spots so we never bumped another deer. You know, if we would have bumped another deer or two, you know, that whole stalk might have been blown. You know, you just put in your time and sometimes you get lucky. It sure is rewarding.
What an experience.
Oh man.
Yeah.
This is an experience. And the experience right here.
Yeah. This makes the trip. I mean, this is, yeah.
I don't, you know, you almost don't have words to say, you know. You have, you know, at night when you go to bed, you have high hopes of somehow how something's going to plan out, and you're gonna go out there and it's going to be in this draw, and you're going to walk up to him, and it never ever happens. It never happens. And today, we knew that he was in this area.
Just a perfect,
I mean, look at
rack. I mean, eye guards, 4 on each side. I mean, yeah. I am so happy for you, Tim. This is what it's all about. I mean, do this. I mean, the work, the public land element, but to do this with good friends, man.
It's the memories that you have of every little hunt. I'll never ever forget this hunt.
Me neither.
No matter how many other deer I kill or whatever I end up doing in our lives, it just, this hunt will stick out in a memory. We came to an area completely blind.
If we can do it, anybody can do it.
I'm telling you right now, get you a tag, go to Montana, and just hunt public land. It's really a hunt of a lifetime. And I mean, every time you do something like this, you go, man, I'll never forget that one. But this one here, my good friend Jason, I'm never going to forget this hunt, ever.
This is awesome.
This is a beautiful deer and beautiful country.
Yeah.
And yeah, you got to work for it. They don't come to the truck. You got to go to them. The first day we figured we walked over 8-9 miles. We might not walk as many miles today, but it's going to be a little heavier walking out.
Yeah. I think with Western big game hunting in particular, especially with public land where it isn't always easy, you know, success is almost like a euphoria that's hard to describe because there's a mental and physical toil on your body, you know, where, you know, through the course of a week, you know, things don't always go right. You know, you put on lots of miles, you get back, your whole body aches and you're stiff, your feet hurt, you know. The lows are low, but the highs are high. You know, when you put in that type of effort and that type of work and everything comes together and you have the perfect stock and you make the perfect shot and you know you're packing this animal out, it is the most rewarding, satisfying thing that there is in hunting, in my opinion. You know, it just doesn't get any better.